Today, I'm going to talk you through the 5 foods that I avoid at all costs as a certified nutritionist. But far more importantly than that, I'm also going to talk you through exactly why I avoid them, because you might want to as well. And in case you're wondering who I am and why the heck you should be listening to me, my name is Doug and I've been a personal trainer and a certified nutritionist for over 5 years now. And I help guys get results like this, and this. That's obviously just a tiny selection of the guys that have helped to get amazing transformations. In the last 5 years, I've worked with well over 100 people. So I think it's fair to say that I've got a pretty good idea of what you should and shouldn't be eating. All right, let's get straight into it, shall we? Oh, and stick around to the end, because while some of these might be pretty obvious to you, I'm pretty sure you're going to be surprised by a couple of them. Or at the very least, you're going to be surprised by the reasons that I avoid them. Right, number 1 on the list is junk food. Fair to say that it's a pretty obvious one, right? But let me take a couple of minutes to explain to you exactly why I avoid junk food at all costs. And just to be clear, when I'm talking about junk food, I'm talking about anything that's fast food, processed, high in sugar, or high in trans fats. The primary reason that I avoid junk food is actually nothing to do with the fact that it's more likely to make you gain weight. I avoid junk food because it destroys your gut health. And to me, that's particularly important because of the link between our gut health and our mental health. You see, 90 to 95% of your serotonin, which is your feel-good, happy hormone, is actually produced in our gut. And if our gut is damaged or unhealthy or inflamed, it's pretty unlikely that it's going to be able to produce that much serotonin. And the less serotonin you've got, the more miserable you're going to be. The other side effect of any food that destroys your gut microbiome is that it's going to clog you up. It's going to make it harder for your intestines and your digestive system to properly process all your food. And as a result, it's more likely to make you constipated. And it's kind of funny because we talk about constipation in children all the time. And I think most people, or at least every parent out there, will know the effects that constipation can have on children. It makes them more rattled, it makes them more stressed, it makes them more whiny. Well, what effect do you think it has on adults? Exactly the same. The final problem that comes with having poor gut health is your intestine's inability to absorb much of the nutrients from the food that you're eating. So you're eating the food, but you're not actually getting much nutritional value. And then doubling down on that, the calories from junk food are pretty empty. There is no nutritional value in them anyway. And this is where the problem with junk food and weight management really comes in. Because it's not that the calories from junk food are making you fatter than the calories from anything else. It's the fact that they're empty. They don't fill you up. They don't give you any nutritional value. Not only that, the companies that manufacture this junk food, and I say manufacture very specifically because if you're eating processed food, junk food, you're not actually eating real food. It's not even produced. It is manufactured. The problem is that it's laced with addictive qualities. So not only are they trying to make you come back for more, but it's also going to make it far more likely that you're going to want more food straight afterwards. And that is why people who eat a lot of junk food and processed food tend to find it harder to manage their weight. They're getting addicted to this food and they're wanting more food all the time. Their endocrine system, their hormonal health, particularly their 2 hunger hormones, their leptin and their ghrelin, which control their appetite and their satiety, are all over the place. So that's junk food, and that's why I avoid it at all costs. And before we move on to number 2, the other food that I forgot to mention earlier that I would also count as junk food is processed meats. Let me be very clear. Meat, generally speaking, is a fantastic source of nutrition. It's high in protein, it fills you up, it's full of vitamins and minerals. But processed meats, cut them out. These have been proven to increase the risk of heart disease and cancers. Okay, the next 2 that I want to talk about are foods that I avoid at all costs because if I start eating them, I cannot stop. And maybe you're the same. The first of those 2 is bread. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with having bread. Bread is delicious. I don't think I've ever met anybody who doesn't like bread. But the problem comes, as I say, with portion control. And if I'm trying to stay in shape and build a sustainable, healthy, balanced lifestyle, I need to stay on top of my calories and my macros. And bread makes that very difficult to do. Bread makes you hungrier because it spikes your blood sugar levels. And this is why restaurants give it to you normally for free before they've served you the food you've actually ordered. It's because they've proven that the people who eat the bread that's on the table are far more likely to order more food and as a result, spend more money. There are even some studies, and I have to be really honest, I'm a little bit skeptical about them, that say bread is more addictive than crack cocaine. Just to be clear, I also strongly advise you to avoid eating. But yeah, bread, the problem with bread, as I say, is that if it's put in front of me, I cannot stop eating it. And also, what do people put on bread? Butter. That's more calories. So I'm not avoiding bread because it's inherently bad or terrible nutritional value. I'm purely avoiding it because I personally find it very moreish. I find it very hard to stop. And as a result, I find it very hard to manage my calories and macros. And the second food that I avoid, because if I start, I can't stop eating it, is cereal. Now, cereal is a little bit more sinister than bread. It's manufactured. And it's pretty much proven now that the food companies that are manufacturing this cereal are, how do I say this politically, not on your side, not acting in your best interest, don't care about you at all. Yeah, basically they know they are making high sugary foods and they've managed to dress it up as a attractive, healthy option, which people should supposedly wake up and eat first thing in the morning. But again, the main problem with cereal, to me at least, isn't that it's high in sugar, it isn't even the fact that it's processed. The main problem with cereal is that no one in the history of the human race on planet Earth has ever actually had the recommended serving size of a bowl of cereal. Because if you weigh it out, you will realize that it is basically 4 cornflakes. Most recommended serving sizes for cereal are 30 grams. And if you look at what 30 grams of cereal is in terms of calories, you're like, yeah, that's pretty manageable and reasonable. Trust me when I say this, unless you are weighing out your cereal, you are having maybe 2, if not 3 times more than you think you are. And then when you chuck the milk on top of that, that's another couple of 100 calories. You've suddenly gone from having a 250 calorie breakfast to a 1,000 calorie breakfast. And the problem is you can't stop at one bowl because it's so damn good. Or at least it activates your dopamine receptors and feels good at the time. Later down the road, maybe in a couple of hours time, it's probably going to cause your energy levels to crash. And when that happens, guess what? You're going to reach for more food. And now your salivary glands, your stomach, your digestive system wants more of the hyperpalatable, high sugar foods. So that's what you're going to reach for. So effectively, by having cereal first thing in the morning, you're starting this chain reaction where you're just more likely to eat unhealthy for the rest of the day. So yeah, avoid bread, avoid sugar, or at least I do. And I encourage my clients to do the same. Number 4 on the list, again, not a surprising one, is alcohol. However, as you get into your 30s and as you become more health conscious, and let's be honest, as the hangovers get 10 times worse, I started to realize the damage that it was doing to me, but not just to my liver, to my sleep, to my gut health, to my digestive system, to my mood, to my energy levels, to just basically absolutely everything. And none of those effects, by the way, were good. Not only were the hangovers 10 times worse, I was now going into my drinking session anxious about the hangover. So now you're spending way more money, getting anxious before you even had a drink, and the hangover's 10 times worse. Honestly, I wonder why we do it at all. But listen, we do. So I'm not going to be the one to tell you to completely give it up. However, when I go on extended stints of abstinence from alcohol, that is when every single health metric, visible and invisible, whether it's my weight, whether it's my skin, whether it's how I look, how I feel, my mood, my energy, my blood work, my testosterone, everything improves. So let's break down exactly why this is the case. First and foremost, alcohol is very calorie dense, particularly if you're drinking beer or wine. So if you've had a normal day where you've eaten your normal amount of calories and then go out and have 5 glasses of wine or 5 pints of beer, you've probably had an extra 1,000 to 1,500 extra calories. But if you're doing this 2 or even 3 times a week, heck, even 4 times a month, it's going to cause significant damage. Not only is it going to cause significant damage to your insides, but it's going to make staying on top of your weight very difficult. Not only because of the extra calories that you're now consuming, but you're not going to want to move as much. Your drive will be a lot lower. You won't have as much energy. You won't want to go to the gym. You won't even want to go outside and see people. But to me, the biggest effect that alcohol has, and I can speak freshly to this topic, having just come back from a stag do in Madrid, is that it destroys your sleep quality. I know, but there have been people that have reported their sleep recovery score, whatever it's called on Whoop, as 0 when they have had a big night out. If I've had a big night out and I've woken up, well, I haven't even been asleep supposedly, but let's say I've woken up, I've come out of my drunken slumber, and I've been told by my stupid little Whoop band that my recovery score is 0, when my anxiety is already going to be a 10 out of 10. Well, now it's going to be an 11 out of 10. But jokes and criticisms of Whoop aside, honestly, I'm not a hater of them. I think they're great if you have no awareness of this sort of stuff and you want to improve your sleep quality. Alcohol destroys your sleep. And the biggest problem with alcohol destroying your sleep, as I've already said, when your sleep quality is in the toilet, so is your endocrine system. Your hormonal health really suffers. So we've already spoken briefly about your leptin and your ghrelin. Those are your 2 hunger hormones. In an ideal world, we want your leptin to be nice and high and your ghrelin to be nice and low. That means that your body assumes that you are feeling full and feeling not that hungry. And when your brain and your body are in that situation, you don't feel as hungry and you feel fuller, more satiated. And as a result, you're less likely to overeat and you're less likely to consume hyperpalatable foods, the junk food, the fast food, the processed food that we spoke about earlier. Because the other hormones that are affected when you get a bad night's sleep are your sex hormones, your testosterone and your estrogen, and your stress hormone, your cortisol. In particular, is actually estrogenic, which is kind of ironic. It's marketed to the masses as a man's drink, but because beer is estrogenic, that means it inhibits the production of testosterone. In other words, it prevents your testosterone from reaching normal or elevated levels. And if your testosterone is low, your drive is low. If your drive is low, you feel lazy, you feel lethargic, you feel sad. So, low testosterone, low estrogen for women, very bad news. And then we come onto your cortisol, your stress hormone. The higher your cortisol, the more stressed you are. The more stressed you are, the more you hate life. So yeah, alcohol, avoid it. Last but not least, number 5, the 5th food that I avoid at all costs is actually another drink. And that is sugary beverages. But I'm also including Starbucks, Cafe Nero, and all these other big chain coffee companies. Because again, we're talking about empty calories here. Because people don't realize that the $10 that they're spending a day in Starbucks not only is, well, a complete waste of money, in my opinion, but it is also packed full of calories. True story. I had a client who started work with me in November of 2023. He came to me and he already had a personal trainer face to face. I work with my clients online, but he was really struggling with his nutrition. He was working hard in the gym. His step count was decent. He wasn't a big drinker and he was eating what you'd consider, during the week at least, a pretty healthy and balanced diet. He wasn't perfect, but he was trying a lot harder than 90% of people. And he could not lose weight. And it was frustrating the heck out of him because he couldn't figure out why. So I got him to do a 3-day calorie audit where he tracked absolutely everything that he put in his mouth, food and drink. And that was crucial because not even 24 hours in, he messaged me excited, but clearly also a little bit peeved off that he had figured it out. He was having 2 Starbucks every single day, one in the morning on his way to work and one during his lunch break. Little did he realize, though, that each of those Starbucks contained over 300 calories. So he was getting nearly 650 calories per day just from Starbucks. And it's the same with your run-of-the-mill sugary drinks. These drinks are full of empty calories that are not going to fill you up. They're going to cost you a lot of money and they're going to cause blood sugar spikes. And they are full of calories. They're going to make it so much harder for you to stay on top of your weight. And I'm not perfect either. As a kid, I was completely addicted to Coca-Cola. I'd have one at lunch at school and one as soon as I got through the front door after school. Now, I was a kid and I was pretty active, so it didn't have a drastic effect on my weight. But what it did affect was my sleep quality, my endocrine system, my gut health. And having worked with so many clients, one of the trends that I see all the time, the relationship between the drinks that a client has and the food that they eat. And I can tell you that the clients who have more alcohol or more sugary beverages tend to have a far worse diet. So there you have it, guys, the 5 foods that I avoid at all costs. But listen, I say that I avoid these at all costs, and normally I do, but I am not perfect, and I'm not expecting you to be perfect, and you shouldn't expect yourself to be perfect. These foods and these drinks in moderation are not going to kill you. They're also not going to have a long-term negative impact on your health if you have them in moderation. But being really honest, my motivation and drive to avoid these foods and drinks is that I know if I have them, everything else just feels that much harder. My energy and my drive feel low because my sleep quality has gone down. My mood definitely changes for the worse. I'm nowhere near as productive. I don't want to work out. I don't want to see my friends. I don't want to go outside. I just don't feel good if I have these foods. So whilst it's absolutely fine to cheat from time to time, I always encourage you to enjoy your food. Just make sure you're enjoying them in moderation. Anyway, I'll leave this video here. If you have enjoyed it, please show your support and smash the thumbs up button. And of course, subscribe to the channel. Your support means the world to me. Thank you very much for watching, and until the next one, bye.